envision the lunar lander and lunar systems being a combination of commercial and government. Next slide. This is what this one looks like. In the less constrained case, these are starting to look a little better. This is the case of the dual Ares 5. You actually have some destinations in the 2020s. You make it to a Lagrange point in 2025, a near-Earth asteroid in 2030. You can do a Mars flyby by 2034, and human lunar return closes. In this case, you can actually do it, and you can do that in 2035. So any questions on this case? This just you could almost undoubtedly do some optimization around any of these, but with the dual Ares 5, this is what this and this budget on the order of $3 billion a year above the budget guidance, ramping up to that, but on that order in the out years, this is what you can achieve.
Sally,
yeah.
Since I haven't seen the adjusted manifest for this yet, do you have some idea of kind of what's the pace of missions? I mean, are you doing a mission every other year or every third year?
Yeah, I think it actually comes out to about every other year. It depends a little bit on the missions, as you know. I haven't seen the detailed manifest yet, but it's once you get going, you can roughly follow the manifest. Okay. Next slide. Now we're moving on to the directly shuttle-derived heavy lift vehicle. This is about a 100 metric ton vehicle, and we're using the shuttle-derived vehicle for cargo only. We're still using commercial crew to LEO for any scenarios that would use a crew capsule. They would presumably be using the Orion, and we'd be launching it with no people on, and then the people would be added in space. Technology development line. Next slide. This is what this one looks like. The shuttle-derived vehicle is a little bit more cost-effective, primarily because it's using the existing infrastructure, and it's pretty well known. Get to Lagrange points in 2023. That's a couple years sooner. Near-Earth asteroids or objects in 2027, a few years sooner. Mars flyby in 2029. Human lunar return in 2030. Next slide. Okay. Now we're moving on to the case of a commercial buy, and this is to be representative of a commercial large, call it 75 metric ton hydrocarbon booster. So all the assumptions are the same, except the booster is different. That for some of the destinations requires additional launches. We've covered that in the manifesting in the scenarios. Next slide. Okay, the thing to say about this slide is that it brings in considerable efficiencies because you're doing business a new way. You're actually you're making a commercial buy out of your heavy lift vehicle. You can see that there's actually once you get ISS retired, you've actually got quite a nice little dip there below the budget, and then it kind of ramps up as you're going into significant operations. But if you just look at these, you get to Lagrange points by 2024, near-Earth objects 2026, Mars flyby 2028, and then human lunar return 2029. Now, it's important here to talk about the disruptions that occur in the effort to get to those efficiencies. So this is a significantly different way of doing business for NASA, and it would significantly disrupt the NASA workforce and the NASA infrastructure. It would require dismantling a not insignificant part of the infrastructure that we've built up over the decades at Kennedy Space Center, at Michoud, at our engine test facilities. So notice the yellow highlighting right in the middle of the graph that says $3 billion for facility shutdown costs. We spent a lot of time discussing how to take into account the costs associated with this disruption. So it's everything from closing down facilities at some ramp down, mothballing facilities, safing facilities, to reducing the civil service workforce by, actually, in this case, 3,000 people. So this is not an insignificant change. Even at midnight last night, there was a lot of discussion and calculations going on between the NASA folks and the aerospace folks, primarily the NASA folks, just trying to get a handle on the data and interacting actually with Jeff and with me to try to come up with kind of a bound of what these costs are. So we actually have not come to a conclusion yet. The NASA folks, even amongst themselves, have not determined what they think these costs should be. So we're still a ways off. This is not an easy problem to figure this out. So we've actually got a bound, and it's not a small range. We've got this chart at a $3 billion facilities closure and workforce reduction cost. The next chart shows an $11 billion facilities closing and workforce reduction cost taken over the period of around 6 years. So why don't we go to the next chart that shows the effect of that. This you can see that wedge. I think it's the yellow, very pale yellow wedge that shows up there right after the shuttle wedge. So that's kind of how it plays out. So it's not a small part of this thing. You still get to the savings. You get to them a little bit later, and it's not quite as deep once you get there because you got to be kind of making up time. But you do get to the savings in the out years. This does push things out a little bit. The first Lagrange point is 2025. First NEO is 2027. Mars flyby 2029. Human lunar return 2030. So we think with these two cases that we've bounded the closure costs and the disruption. But it is, you shouldn't underestimate the magnitude of the repercussions on this one, because it's very, very difficult to reduce the civil service workforce by 3,000 over a period of time like this.
Hey, Sal, can I ask a question? Maybe it's more for Ed, but for both of you. I'm just thinking here, if in this scenario, the Orion and RP booster, is that launching unmanned and then the commercial transport rendezvous and docks with it? Mm-hmm. I guess in all these scenarios where we're doing that kind of thing, especially when we're doing that kind of thing, it begs the question, do we need the Orion?
Well, that leads naturally to a point I wanted to raise.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of things I want to say about this, and I'll save some of them for later in the discussion. But one of them is, the least worst scenario that I have been able to spot in terms of fitting to something least far away from the President's guidance budget that still does exploration would be to do this and take the bitter pill, and it's a bitter pill, of radical change in the way that we do business, and take two and call me in the morning, and to also cancel Orion, which would allow you to